guys, the Benidorm Enthusiast here, and today I'm going to be talking to you about a part of Benidorm's skyline that could soon be gone. I'm talking about these two buildings behind me right at the end, the Rincon de Loix end of Levante, the Gemelos 28 towers. Gemelos means twins in Spanish, and as you can see, Gemelos 28 is made of two 21-storey tower buildings which sit at the foot of the Sierra Helada mountain range, but which have been ordered to be demolished. Now, the order to demolish these towers is not new. You have probably heard something about that before. I actually never thought that it would happen in reality, but recently the news has resurfaced as advancements have been made, taking steps towards bringing these buildings down. And not only that, but replacing them with an even bigger skyscraper. Sounds absolutely ridiculous, doesn't it? Well, let's go back to the start and delve a little bit deeper into the rise and possible fall of Gemelos 28. The construction of Gemelos 28 began in the early 2000s, with the project initially receiving the necessary approvals from local authorities. However, the location of the towers within the protected coastal zone, which extends 100 metres from the shoreline, soon became a point of contention. A legal battle emerged over coastal regulations. The buildings were a few metres too close to the protected shoreline area. The legal challenges primarily revolved around the alleged violation of Spain's coastal law, Ley de Costas, which aims to protect the country's coastline from overdevelopment and environmental degradation. Critics argued that the construction of Gemelos 28 infringed upon this protected zone, jeopardising both the environment and the public's right to access the coastline. Various environmental groups and citizens filed lawsuits against the project, which was initially approved by the local council, claiming that the approval did not adhere to the coastal law. In 2011, the Supreme Court of Spain ruled that the construction of the towers was indeed in violation of the coastal law. Following this, there were calls for the demolition of the buildings. In 2012, a regional court in Valencia ordered the partial demolition of Gemelos 28. However, this decision was met with a lot of resistance from the developers and some local authorities, leading to further legal battles. The demolition orders were suspended pending appeals, as the developers argued that the buildings were already occupied and that demolishing them would result in significant economic losses and displacement of residents. Local authorities and property owners also fought back, and the appeals process has been lengthy to say the least, with various courts issuing conflicting rulings over the years. The council have pressured for environmental studies to evaluate demolition risks and warned that demolition could cost up to €130 million. However, the High Court of Justice of the Valencian community upheld demolition as the only possible means of enforcing the ruling. This brings us up to the recent news. The courts have now set a date. October 2029 is when the demolition is set to begin, but there's a lot of work to be done before that. The Ministry of the Environment is putting out to tender technical assistance to calculate compensation to third parties. For all the properties, the owners will have to be identified, the properties inspected, and appraisal reports will be issued. Gemelos 28 consists of 168 residential properties and another 157 listings such as parking spaces, storage rooms, sports facilities and commercial space. With this info, they will then prepare to specify the compensation to cover financial liability. They expect to get these results in from 2026, but it's more likely to be 2027. Important to note here that the appraisal reports must reflect the valuation they had at the date of the ruling, that is July 23rd, 2012. Property prices have absolutely skyrocketed since then. Can you imagine if you'd bought one of these apartments? You would be absolutely livid. I've not even got to the craziest part of this story yet. If or when the Gemelos 28 building does get demolished, what are they planning to put in its place? Another even bigger skyscraper, albeit it will have to be 6 metres further in. Have you ever heard anything so ridiculous in all your life? What a colossal waste of money. Hundreds of millions of euros for the demolition, likely hundreds of millions of euros in compensation, and not to mention environmental damage that will be done during the demolition, all the dust, dirt and debris that will end up in the sea and the surrounding areas of the Sierra Helada National Park. So a law which is supposed to protect the environment will probably end up causing much more damage. And all for what? Just so they can build another even bigger building just a few feet away. So this is the tower that could replace Gemelos 28 after it's been demolished. 58 stories high, almost 3 times the height of the current building sitting there. The City Council has been adamant for years that the demolition of Gemelos 28 would be pointless because the land would not be kept clear. And that this is now proving that with the release of these potential project images. The Architecture Department has verified that it is feasible to develop the plot. The new building could be a tower consisting of a ground floor, plus 58 floors of apartments and a crowning floor with technical installations above it could realise its buildable height, since in the open building zone there is no maximum number of floors. So what guys? So what do you guys think of all this? Personally, I'm not against new buildings. In fact, I'm not against skyscrapers. I do actually get quite excited when I learn about new mega tall buildings being planned in Benidorm. Benidorm's iconic skyline is what makes it so unique and has played a huge part in its success. But to spend potentially hundreds of millions of euros to demolish an existing structure, especially one that's been standing for years and is still in use, only to replace it with another tower just a few metres away, it feels to me like one of the most absurd decisions I've ever heard. Even more worrying is the possible irreversible environmental damage this demolition could cause. And not to mention the disruption for the residents and the legal and financial mess it leaves behind. Benidorm needs smart development, not just dramatic ones. The future should be about planning better, not just building taller. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, guys. Maybe some of you have stayed in Gemelos 28 on your holidays. I know a few people that have lived there over the years, some very nice apartments. Some people have made these apartments their home. It must be absolutely heartbreaking for them. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you found this video interesting. Give us a thumbs up if you did. Click subscribe so you don't miss any future videos, and also click the bell so you get notified whenever we upload a new one. Also, check us out on our other socials, Facebook, Instagram and TikTok at the Benidorm Enthusiast. Stay positive and stay safe.